you watched the first video in this series, you may remember where we left off. We talked about the Warburg effect and why the statement, "cancer feeds on sugar," contains some truth, but I also told you that it doesn't tell the whole story. Today, I want to explain why, and if you are joining me here first, let me give you the one idea you need in order to follow along. The Warburg effect is the observation that many cancer cells burn glucose, which is sugar, at a very high rate and in an unusual way, even when they don't need to. That is where the phrase "cancer feeds on sugar" comes from. Now, here is what it leaves out. Because we've been talking as though a tumor is one thing, it isn't. One of the biggest misconceptions about cancer is that we imagine a tumor as a single lump made up of identical cells all behaving the same way. That is almost never the case. A tumor is more like a neighborhood. Different cells live in different environments, and those environments change how the cells behave. Think about what happens as a tumor grows. The cells around the outside sit close to the blood supply. They have relatively easy access to oxygen, glucose, amino acids, and other nutrients. But the cells deep inside the tumor live under very different conditions. As the tumor grows, the center becomes farther away from the blood supply. Less oxygen reaches it, less glucose reaches it, and life becomes much more difficult. Those cells have two choices: die or adapt. And many cancer cells are able to adapt. So within the same tumor, the cells at the edge may be using one metabolic strategy, while the cells in the center may be using another. The important point is that they are solving different problems. Now, let's make the picture even bigger. Not only are different parts of one tumor different, but different cancers are different too. A breast cancer does not behave exactly like a pancreatic cancer. A pancreatic cancer does not behave exactly like a melanoma. Each develops its own combination of genetic changes. Those changes influence how the cancer grows, how it communicates, and how it uses fuel. Even two patients with the same diagnosis may have tumors that behave differently. That is one of the reasons cancer treatment has become increasingly personalized. The biology isn't identical, the metabolism isn't identical, and the response to treatment isn't always identical. This is why I want to add nuance when people say cancer feeds on sugar. Some cancers rely heavily on glucose. Others have learned to use additional fuels. Some switch between fuels depending on what is available. That ability to adapt is one of the reasons cancer can be so challenging. It also explains why researchers today don't simply ask, "Does cancer use sugar?" Instead, they ask, "What fuels can this particular cancer use and under what conditions?" That is a much more useful question, and it is leading us toward a much deeper understanding of cancer metabolism. In the next video, we're going to look at some of those other fuels, because glucose is not the only nutrient many cancer cells can use. We'll talk about glutamine, fatty acids, and a concept called metabolic flexibility. Those ideas begin to explain how some cancers survive even when one fuel becomes less available. If this series has been helpful so far, I hope you'll continue with me into the next video. I work with cancer patients and survivors using a metabolic approach alongside their standard cancer care. I am licensed in New York and Pennsylvania. If you live in one of these states and would like to talk, there is a link below to schedule a clarity call. And wherever you live, thank you for spending these minutes with me. Take care of yourself.